A total of 10 libraries are provided by the Brity RPA solution. In the library, which has a collection of various features like apps, web, and Excel, users can find the features they want and organize flowcharts of processes, tasks, and events. This time, we want to look at the 6 main libraries that can be run independently. Looking at the features of the 6 main libraries, there is the Flow Control library that controls process flow, such as repetition and judgment. The App library that controls the app, such as mouse keyboard operation, UI object recognition, app execution and exiting. The Web library that controls the web, such as browser execution and exiting, as well as sending, receiving mails. The Excel library that controls Excel documents, such as creation, handling of worksheets, and handling data. The System library that controls the Windows system, such as files, directory creation, and message boxes. And the SAP library for entering, processing, and handling data in the SAP GUI. First, let's look at the activity features in the Flow Control library and how to use them one by one. The Flow Control library is a set of activities that control the process flow, such as repetition or judgment, when composing a flowchart for a process or task. Common activities include the if for branch processing according to the condition, and the for, while, continue, and break activities that are used for iterative processing. Also, there is the assign, used to assign values to the variables, the delay, terminate flow, and terminate all activities are used to control the process flow, such as waiting or terminating the process. In addition, there is the execute script activity, used to execute a script implemented with JavaScript. Please refer to the table for more details. Now, shall we look at how to use the activity? If you need a branch based on the condition, use the if activity. For example, it can be used to access different URLs according to the input value. Receive the input value through the input box activity and enter the conditional expression in the properties of the if activity. If the input value is 1 or 2, open Google website. If the input value is other than those two, open Amazon website. If you need to repeat, use the for activity. For example, in the calculator, you can set to obtain the sum by pressing the plus and number 1 buttons 5 times in a row. Open the calculator app with the Open App activity and enter the conditional expression in the conditions section of the properties of for. Enter the plus and number 1 buttons 5 times repeatedly and click the equal button to set the calculator to show the result. Assign is an activity used to assign values to the declared variables. You can enter assign test in the previously declared left value variable and set to output to Notepad. First, open the Notepad app with the Open App activity and enter assign test in the previously declared left value variable to output to input value to Notepad. If you need to wait for a certain period of time during task or process execution, use the delay activity. For example, you can set to open the browser, go to Google, and wait for 3 seconds. Set to access Google with the Open Browser activity. Wait for 3 seconds for the Google website to fully open in the properties of the delay activity, and enter RPA in the search box and search in the website. The execute script is an activity that designer uses to execute a script implemented in JavaScript. For example, you can set to execute the script for getting today's date implemented in JavaScript and output it to Notepad. You can enter the script to get today's date in the properties of the execute script activity. Run Notepad with the Open App activity and set to output the text. Today's date is, and the date that you got in the script to Notepad. You can see the variables mmonth and mdate for getting today's date in the script of the properties area. Now, let's look at the activities in the App Library. The App Library is a set of activities that controls the apps. It identifies the UI object on the screen with the UI automation technology provided by Windows, finds the target UI specified by the user, and performs the specified action. Common activities include those related to mouse operation, such as click, right-click, double-click, and mouse hover activities. Also, there are activities related to keyboard operation, such as set text, text input, and key input activities. There is also the get text activity used to obtain hierarchical information of objects and the open app, close all activities that control opening and closing the apps. Please refer to the table for more details. Now, let's take a quick look at how the activities in the App Library are used. The Open App activity is used as a command to run a specific app in Windows, and the Click activity is used as a command to click a specific object. Let's run the Notepad app using these two activities, and then click the Exit menu in the file to set Notepad to exit. First, open Notepad using the Open App activity. Enter the Click activity, click the File menu, and click the Exit menu to set Notepad to close. The Set Text and Text Input activities are used to enter text in the input field of a specific screen, and the Get Text activity is used to read text from a specific screen. You can set the text to be copied and pasted using these three activities. First, open two notepads with the Open App activity. Then, enter Set Text Test in the input text from the properties of the Text Input activity to read the text from the Get Text activity, and set to paste it onto the second notepad with the Set Text activity. Next, the Key Input activity is used when the computer requires the same action as typing the keyboard. For example, you could enter text using the Key Input activity in Notepad. First, open Notepad with the Open App activity. Enter the alphabets and add line breaks through the key code setting in the keyboard of the Key Input activity properties. Then, you can copy and paste the Key Input activity and perform the action. The Close All activity is used to close all running apps of the same type. For example, you can set to close all running Notepad apps. Open two notepads with the Open App activity and enter Notepad in the application of the Close All activity properties to set those apps to close. The Wait Appear activity is an activity that waits for the flow of a flowchart until a specific object appears on the screen. For example, you can open Notepad and call the message box to determine if a particular menu is visible. Open Notepad with the Open App activity. Enter the result value in the result of the Wait Appear activity properties, and branch through If activity to set each message box to output the result. Lastly, the IsExist activity is used to check if there is a specific object on the screen. For example, if you go to Google and see the logo, you can set Brity RPA to be searched. First, go to Google with the Open Browser activity. Select Google in the name of the IsExist activity properties. See if there is the Google logo, and enter Brity RPA in Google to search by pressing the Enter key. Next, let's look at the activities of the Web Library. The Web Library is a set of activities that controls the web. It identifies the UI object on the screen with the UI automation technology provided by Windows, finds the target UI specified by the user, and performs the specified action. Common activities of the Web Library include Open Browser and Close Browser activities that are used to open and close the web browser. The Send Request activity, used for HTTP requests, and the Send Mail activity, used to send mails. Also, the Send Mail activity that is used to receive mails. And there is the Download Mail Attachment activity, the activity related to the attachment download. Now, let's look at how to use the Web Library Activities with an example. The Open Browser activity is used when you need to open a browser and go to a specific URL. For example, you can enter the browser ID in the Open Browser Activity properties and enter the address in the URL to access Google. Here, if you set Maximize to True, the browser will open in full screen. And if you use the Close Browser activity, you can stop the browser from running and close Internet Explorer. For the browser ID of the Close Browser Activity properties, enter the ID given at Open Browser to identify the browser to be closed. Also, the Send Request activity can implement the interface with the external system by calling REST API in the HTTP method. In the Send Request activity properties, set the calling method, the API address to be called, the header information, and the body information. Result information is saved in the output variable specified from the response properties. Response result can be checked in the message box. Next, let's look at the activities of the Excel library. The Excel library is a set of activities that controls the Excel documents and consists of activities for creating new documents and opening existing documents for editing and saving. Looking at the main activities, there are activities to create and run new Excel documents, and the activities to create, copy, delete, and move worksheets. Also, there are activities related to getting range, reading, and writing. The Read Range activity is used when reading the data in the specified range. The Copy-Paste activity is used when copying data to the Excel file. And the Save Excel activity is used when saving the Excel file. There are also many other activities related to the row, column, cell, and active Excel handle. Please refer to the table for more details. Now, let's see how the Excel library activities work and how to use them. The Open Excel activity is used to open an Excel file. For example, you can specify the file you want and open it. Select the location and name of the file you want to open in the path from the Open Excel activity properties to set that Excel file to open. The Get Row Count activity is used to get the number of rows in a sheet in the Excel file. Shall we use this to find the number of rows in the Excel file that is opened? First, open the file with the Open Excel activity. Then, specify the sheet name of the Get Row Count activity properties to active_sheet. Find the number of rows in the activated sheet and save it to the result variable to output the result. The Save Excel activity is used to save the Excel file being written, and the Close Excel activity is used to close an open Excel file. Using these two activities, you can set to save and close the Excel file. Enter the file name in the Save As from the Save Excel activity properties to save it which is currently being written, and you can close it with the Close Excel activity. The Get Active Excel activity is used to find the most recently activated Excel file on the screen. For example, you can specify the handle value of the currently open Excel file in Get Active Excel activity properties and set to get the most recently activated Excel file information. The Read Range activity is used to read data of the range in the Excel sheet. First, open an Excel file through Get Active Excel, get the handle value of it in advance, and then read the data. Specify the data range to read range in the Read Range activity properties, and specify a variable to save the date in Data Array. and read the range from the active sheet of the Excel to output the data. The Create Worksheet activity is used when creating a new sheet in the Excel file. Open the new Excel file with the new Excel activity and enter Korean menu for the sheet name in the Create Worksheet Activity properties to create a sheet with that name. The Get Data Range activity is used to get the range that contains the data in the Excel sheet. First, open an Excel file with Open Excel. Select the variable in the range of the Get Data Range Activities property. Then you can find out the range that has some data on the activity sheet of the file. And you can print it on the screen. Lastly, the Copy-Paste activity is used to read Excel data and use it in another location or file. For example, open an Excel file, create a new sheet, and enter the information required for copying and pasting in the Source Excel, Dest Excel, and Source Range in the Copy-Paste activity properties. Then, copy all the data in the specific sheet of the running Excel file with Open Excel to paste in a sheet of the Excel file with New Excel. Next, let's look at the activities of the System Library. The System Library is a set of activities that controls the Windows system, such as creating files, directories, and calling message boxes. The System Library is composed of activities related to the file and directory control, user interface, and clipboard. In addition, there are activities related to execution of the shortcut or the Windows command. It is composed of various activities related to the registry, compression, and file status. Please refer to the table for more details. Now, let's look at an example of how to use the System Library activities. First, we will start with the Create Directory and Create File activities. These are used to create directories or files within the system, and the IsFileExist activity is used to check if a file exists in the system. For example, create a folder with the Create Directory activity, and create a random file with the Create File activity. Then, check if the file is in the folder with the IsFileExist activity, and set to Output with the Message Box activity. Next, the Screenshot activity is used to capture the screen and paste it on the clipboard. Run the created text file with the Execute File activity. Enter the location to save and file name in the path of the Screenshot activity properties, and capture the screen of the running file to save it as a file in the specified location. Also, the Copy and Paste activities are used when you need to perform copy and paste commands on Windows. Let's use this to copy text to Notepad. First, create and run a TXT text file and enter the desired sentence in Notepad. Copy the sentence and have a 3-second delay to paste it back to the same Notepad. The Execute Cmd activity is used when you need to execute a specific command in a Cmd screen on Windows. For example, enter a command in the command and enter the parameter in the argument of the Execute Cmd activity properties to output the result of dir command of the C drive to message box. Finally, let's look at the activities of the SAP Library. The SAP Library is a set of activities that controls the SAP GUI screen. Common activities include the activities related to mouse operation, activities that read and write text, and activities that check the status of the object. Please refer to the table for more details. Now, let's see how the SAP Library activities work and how to use them. The getText activity is used to read data from the specific location in the SAP screen. If it cannot be read normally through getText, data also can be read using getText or getImageText from the app library. The following setText activity is used to set the value of the specified location in the SAP screen. Unlike the set text or text input in the app library, the Korean characters are not broken. The click activity is used to click on a specific part of the SAP screen. To utilize this, from the option of the Customize Local Layout menu in the SAP menu, scripting-related settings are required. Then you can use the click activity as follows to click on the specific button in the SAP screen. Let's try the practice exercises to understand the library more clearly. There will be 2 exercises, including Google News Search and capturing the screen and saving it in the Excel file. Let's look at the first practice exercise together. Here, we will look at how you can create a Google News Search task with your own account. First, define the business process as follows, and think about the basic process to be implemented with RPA. Then write the task, run it, and check the result. Now, let's find out how to write it. First, let's create a new project and a new task. From the menu in the top left corner of the RPA Designer screen, click the New Project in the New menu, enter the project name, and click the Create button. Then, select the task in the project in the top left corner of the screen. Right-click and select the New Task menu. Enter the task name as search_Google_news and click the Create button. Once the new project and task are created, drag the Open Browser activity in the library and connect to the canvas to access Google. Then go to the properties on the right and enter Google URL in the activity URL. Select the Open Browser activity, right-click on the mouse, and click the Run Step menu, and run the activity to go to the Google website. Now, let's compose a flowchart to enter the search term in the Google search box. Drag the Text Input activity from the library and connect it to the canvas. Double-click on the right side of Text Input activity to target the Google search box. After specifying the target, enter RPA trend in the input text of the properties on the right, and set the Done Enter option to True so that entering the search term and search are performed at the same time. If you select the Text Input activity, right-click the mouse and click the Run Step menu. The search term is automatically entered in the Google search box, and you are directed to the search screen. Now, let's compose a flowchart to search for news on the Google search screen. Drag the Click activity from the library and connect it to the canvas. Double-click the right side of the Click activity and specify the News tab in the Google screen as the target. Again, right-click the Click activity and click Run Step from the menu that appears. As a result, when you click the News tab on the Google search screen, you will be directed to the News search screen. Let's go ahead and compose a flowchart for selecting the first news on the Google News search screen. Drag the Click activity from the library and connect it to the Click activity created right before. Double-click the right side of the Click activity and specify the first news as the target. Now, right-click the Click activity and click Run Step from the menu that appears. As a result, when you click the first news on the Google News search screen, you will see the news in detail. Next, let's compose a flowchart to get the URL of the news on the screen. Drag the Get Text activity from the library and connect it to the canvas. Double-click the right side of Get Text activity and specify the URL area as the target on the screen that appears. Then, on the Variables tab at the bottom of Designer, click Click Here to add new item and declare the variable to save the URL. Enter the variable in the output result of the properties on the right. Then, execute Run step on the getText activity and get the URL from the top of the news screen. Finally, let's compose a flowchart to output the URL on the screen. Drag the message box activity from the library and connect it to the canvas. Enter the variable with the URL saved in the input arguments from properties on the right. Now, shall we check if the task we wrote runs properly? Close the web browser before running it. To run the task, click the Run button on the toolbar at the top of Designer. At this time, a pop-up window asking whether to minimize the RPA Designer will appear. Check Do Not Ask Again and select Yes. Then, the Designer screen will be hidden while the process is running, and the message pop-up will not appear anymore. Running Designer, you can see that the URL is displayed on the screen as well as the news screen. This is the second practice exercise. Now, let's capture the screen, paste it into Excel, reduce the image size, and save it. You can consider business procedures and basic processes as follows to write tasks and run them. Shall we try the implementation? First, let's create a new task by importing an existing project. Click Open in the menu in the top left corner of the RPA Designer screen and import the RPA_exercise project. Then, select the task in the project area. Right-click, select the New Task menu, enter the project name, and click the Create button. Next, we should set to capture the current screen, right? To do this, select the System library and drag the screenshot activity to connect it to the canvas. Then, go to Properties on the right and set True in the command of the full screen properties. Let's open a new Excel file in which we will paste the captured image. Drag the new Excel activity from the Excel library and connect it to the canvas. Then, click here to add new item in the variables at the bottom and specify the variable Excel_ID to contain the created Excel file. Select the new Excel activity in the canvas again. Go to Properties on the right and set this.excel_ID in the Excel of the output properties. For your reference, assign the newly created Excel file with new Excel to an arbitrary variable and use it to specify a target when working on the Excel file later. Also, the word "this" in front of the variable name means that it refers to a normal variable that is valid within the current task. To specify the Excel area, drag the Select Range activity in the Excel file in the library and connect it to the bottom of New Excel. Then, move to Properties on the right and set this.excel_ID in the Excel properties. Then, put A1 with single quotation marks in Range Properties of the sheet. And put Sheet 1 with single quotation marks in the sheet name. In summary, it means to select the A1 cell in Sheet 1 in the newly created Excel_ID with New Excel. Then, to paste the captured image from the clipboard to the selected Excel sheet, drag the Paste activity from Library and connect it to the bottom. If you run the task created so far, Excel will start, and you can see that the full page capture is pasted in the A1 cell of Sheet 1. Let's continue resizing the screen capture image pasted in the Excel file. Drag the right-click activity from the App Library and connect it to the canvas. Double-click the white area on the right side of Activity and specify the target as a screen capture image of the running Excel file. Next, let's resize the screen capture image pasted into the Excel file. Drag Click Activity in the App Library and connect it to the canvas. The target of click can be specified as size and properties of the menu that appears when you right-click the screen capture image. If you press the Control key when specifying the area as shown below, the selected area will be grayed out, and the clicked area will not be specified. You can press the Control key again to specify the target hiding in orange. Let's compose the chart to adjust the height of the copied screen capture image to 10. Drag the Text Input activity from the App Library and connect it to the bottom of Click. Specify the target of the Text Input activity from Excel. Make sure to specify only the number input field. Next, go to the Text Input Properties and enter 10 in the Input Text field. Because it is a regular character, the property is set to normal. Then, set Done, Enter to True in the Text Input Properties. Next, let's set the completed Excel file to be saved in the C drive directory. Drag the Save Excel activity from the Excel library and connect it to the canvas. Then, specify this.excel_ID in the input of the Save Excel properties. And in the File field, enter the directory and file name to be saved in the Save As field. For your reference, the special character / that separates directories must be written as a pair to be recognized in the string. Also, note that even if you enter the directory name and the file name separately, the string will be combined using plus to get the same result. Now, let's close the saved Excel file. Drag the Close Excel activity from the Excel library and connect it to the canvas. Then, specify the Excel item in the input field of the Close Excel properties and the variable that was set as the output item in the new Excel properties. Lastly, close all the Excel files you are working on to make sure that the last task you created runs without errors. Then, click the Run button on the toolbar at the top of Designer. After running, check whether the saved Excel file is normally created.